So, for the unaware, maybe let's just get this whole Shenzhen story out of the way at first. See, in the late 70s, in the initial stages of Deng Xiaoping's famed post-Mao reforms, as a test run of sorts, Beijing circled four cities on the map: Shenzhen, Xiamen, Shantou, and Zhuhai, to give this whole capitalism thing a quick whirl. Just see how wet this water really is. And while all four of those cities succeeded to one degree or the other, it was Shenzhen, owing to its advantageous location a quick slip away from Hong Kong, that really exploded. What happened, of course, is pretty well known. Hong Kong manufacturers, and to a lesser extent Taiwanese, rife with their institutional know-how and international connections from the Asian Tiger period, flooded the city, drawn by a flexible bureaucratic environment and, of course, a relatively educated labor force that was, importantly, absolutely dirt cheap. And drawn by those opportunities, migrants from all across the country, from Sichuan to Hunan to Chaozhou to Hubei to the northeast, moved down to Shenzhen in droves, either permanently or for at least a quick spell. For a while there in the 90s and aughts, if you saw a product that was made in China, odds would have been pretty decent that it was made in Shenzhen. On the cultural side, however, as tends to happen worldwide with border towns, Shenzhen ended up being a place where, for better or worse, Hong Kongers could skip over to and cash in some of that unrealized economic privilege. Shopping, restaurants, massages, you name it. Shenzhen became a sort of weekend destination where Hong Kongers, men in particular, could eat, drink, and play happy, all under the hue of red lights and green bottles. And crucially, for our story today, at least a tangible number of Hong Kong dudes would even leave second wives, and in some cases entire second families, over on this side of the border. That was the size of the economic gulf between those checkpoints. Of course, that was then, and the world does march forward. Shenzhen, over time, ended up getting increasingly developed and increasingly expensive, so both manufacturing and massages ended up moving north to neighboring Dongguan, leaving Shenzhen as a bit more normal of a big city with a bit more normal of a mix of tech, trade, and finance. But unique still to Shenzhen in China is that you did end up having this mix living there, hailing from all across the country. So then, getting back to food. Pop quiz. What happens when you mix people from Sichuan, Hunan, Chaozhou, Hubei, and the Northeast, all in one city, all against a Cantonese backdrop? What does that do to cuisine? And the unfortunate answer is not really all that much. You see, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, when people migrate, they tend to stew instead of pot. So at best in Shenzhen, you can get some authentic, tasty fare from all across the country. And, of course, at worst, some bland, gimmicky corporate chains. Cuisines are like languages or accents. They take generations to crystallize, and you're probably not going to find too many interesting changes over the space of 40 years. That said, you can sometimes, I think, still see the potential beginnings of a cuisine sprouting up here or there, however faintly. And that's where our dish today, chicken pot, comes in. You see, chicken pot, or gaibo, is this Cantonese classic. You can really find it all across the Pearl River Delta. There's a number of variations on the theme, but generally it's a whole chicken cleaved across the bone, cooked together in a clay pot along with aromatics and maybe a bit of sauce. It's a daipaidong mainstay, a great late-night snack to have alongside a bottle of strong rice wine, but also a reasonably common sight for dinners and home kitchens as well. So, against that backdrop, enter the Shenzhen version. You see, the story goes that there was a Hong Kong man that often went to Shenzhen for business, and as was common at the time, found a second wife to keep him company. And also common enough, given the demographic breakdown here, this apocryphal second wife apparently hailed from Sichuan. The Hong Kong man would often go out to eat chicken pot, his favorite dish, and his mistress resolved to cook it for him at home. But in the process, she added chilies, chili bean paste, and a few Sichuan spices to the pot, and with that, this whole Shenzhen Chicken Pot was born. And while, again, probably apocryphal, what is established is that the first Shenzhen Chicken Pot restaurants were born out of the urban village of Xiangxichun, right near the Luohu border checkpoint with Hong Kong, and they are this interesting little twist. That said, my personal favorite Shenzhen Chicken Pot restaurant is a hot jump away in the Futian district, run by a famously mustachioed man churning out pseudo-industrial quantities of delicious chicken pot. The best part, I think, is that halfway through the meal, you end up adding in some water and turning it all into a hot pot. So that's going to be the chicken pot that we'll be mimicking today. So, right, to finally get started with your Shenzhen Chicken Pot, you're predictably going to need some chicken. This was just one bird, about 1 kilo, cleaved into 1-inch pieces across the bone. Now, if you're not feeling this sort of Chinese bony poultry dish, or you just can't source something like this, you can alternatively use a similar amount of chicken wings. The net result will be more or less the same. So then, either way, just marinate your chicken pieces with a half teaspoon salt, a half teaspoon white pepper powder, and 1 tablespoon each cornstarch, soy sauce, and liaojiu aka Shaoxing wine. Give that a real good mix, coat it all with about a tablespoon of oil, and let that marinate for about a half an hour, or maybe an hour if you're using wings. Then, after that time, we can give our chicken a quick pre-fry. Now, the aforementioned Mustache restaurant absolutely just passes their chicken through oil to pre-cook, so definitely do feel free to just deep fry this. But today, we are going to be doing a bit more of a home-style approach and pan-frying things instead. So, high flame in a wide nonstick pan, go in with your chicken pieces and start to fry. To help everything cook evenly, what you want to do is dip each side of your pan into the flame, about 20 seconds each side for 2 minutes in all. Then flip those pieces and do the same move on the other side, same 2 minutes, and set those aside. So then next, the sauce. Now, befitting some Cantonese-Sichuan fusion, this sauce is definitely kind of a grab bag. So to a bowl, just toss in a tablespoon half of soy sauce, a tablespoon of liaojiu aka Shaoxing wine, a half tablespoon of natural peanut butter, another half tablespoon of Sichuan chili bean paste, 1 cube furu fermented tofu, a half teaspoon white pepper powder, a quarter teaspoon each 5-spice powder, chicken bouillon powder, and Sichuan peppercorn powder, an 1/8 teaspoon MSG, an 1/8 teaspoon salt, 1 tablespoon of hoisin sauce, a half tablespoon of chuho paste, and feel free to swap that chuho paste for additional hoisin if the sourcing's a bit annoying. Patiently mix that all together, thin it down with about 6 tablespoons of water, and then this is going to be the base for our chicken pot. So then, to a pot, clay pot or cast iron's ideal, add in about 4 tablespoons of oil, preferably peanut, and go in with 2 shallots, quartered, and a quarter of an onion cut into slices. Fry those over a medium-low flame till the onion's softened and sweet, about 10 minutes. Then toss in 4 cloves of smashed garlic, an inch of smashed ginger, and fry those for another 2 minutes. Then toss in 6 hot dried chilies. These guys were heaven-facing chilies, and after a quick mix, add in your sauce. Just fry that all together for about 5 minutes or until the oil's separated, then toss in your chicken and give it all a good mix. Sprinkle over another quarter of an onion, about 3 sprigs worth of cilantro, and at this point, we'll move this all over to the table, because this is going to be a hot pot after all. So, just place your pot over some sort of portable burner, give all your friends a chance to admire how good looking your chicken pot is, then give it all a good mix and cover. Let that fry and sort of roast in there over a medium flame for about 8 minutes, or 10 for big wings, stirring every 2 minutes or so while everybody gets all hungry. Then just uncover and start to devour your delicious chicken. But once you're basically done with the bird, definitely don't forget about the very best part, the hot pot transformation. Just hit that with enough hot boiled water to make something hot potty, and boil up whatever you want to boil up. 2 of my favorites are thinly sliced beef and deep fried tofu skin, but really, this is a toss in whatever you want sort of affair. That said, one thing I would recommend trying is a bit of noodles. These are just some dried Hong Kong-style egg noodles. I just think that they do end up aggressively delicious together with this sauce, and maybe worth a quick shot at least.
So, Shenzhen Chicken Pot being a Cantonese and Sichuan mix, there are so many different versions throughout the city, actually. Sometimes it can be more Cantonese heavy and does not use any chilies. Sometimes it can be a lot more Sichuan influenced and being very spicy. So you can totally just play around with like the chili quantities and varieties and find your own heat level. So right, check out the recipe in the description box. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon. And of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.